Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to Friendship Empire. This is the Empress, and today we are continuing our series on the scandals in the Norwegian Royal Family. Hello to Movie of the Week in the chat. I see you there. Hopefully you can hear me all right. I have to adjust my mic here. Looked like I was a little too loud, but that looks okay. And so let me switch over and I will show you a handy dandy little family tree of the Norwegian royal family just to show you who we are speaking about today. This is, let me move my cursor over. If you are actually watching and not just listening, then you can see this very simplified family tree from people.com. Not that much simplified, actually, because the Norwegian royal family is not a very large or numerous royal family. Thank you, Movie of the Week. You can hear me. That's great. So just to go over it again, if you were not here for the first stream, or if you are not familiar with the Norwegian royal family, we have the king here, King Harald V, his wife, Queen Sonja, their two children, that's Crown Prince Haakon here, and Princess Martha Louise here, their daughter. There are only two children of the king and the queen, the princess, who is actually the elder of the two children, and then the crown prince, and his wife, Mette-Marit, her son, Marius, who we are going to be talking about first. A little update on what has been going on with Marius Borg Hoiby, and he's been in quite a bit of trouble recently. And he is Mette-Marit's son, but not Haakon's biological son, even though he's been Crown Prince Haakon, the stepfather, has been described as the primary father, basically, of Marius, although he does have a biological father who is in his life. And we spoke about that man in the previous stream and his very interesting background. So just to continue, the Crown Prince and Princess have two children together biologically. Princess Ingrid Alexandra, who is the heiress to her father after a change in the way that the Norwegian royal family does their succession. And then her younger brother, Prince Sverre Magnus here, who is behind her in the line of succession. Then, of course, Princess Martha Louise, who we will be getting into her story in the second half of the stream. Well, not half, literally half time-wise, but the second part of our stream after we cover our Marius update. We will look at Princess Martha Louise, who this year made a very controversial second marriage to this man, Durek Verrett, a self-described shaman. And the princess herself is a bit sensitive to the psychic realm, the spirits and whatnot. She is herself a self-proclaimed clairvoyant. So an interesting marriage indeed. And, well, a lot more interesting things, but we will get into that. Might not be able to cover the entire story of Martha Louise and her new husband in this stream, but we will definitely get that curious ball rolling. And of course, Martha Louise had a first marriage to this man, Ari Ben. You will see he is no longer with us, and unfortunately, Martha and her first husband had three daughters together, Maud, Leah, and Emma, who you can see down here. Although these are younger pictures of them, they are a little bit older now. So now that we've caught up, Movie of the Week in the chat says Shaman of the LA tribe. Well, yes, if by tribe you mean a lot of celebrity types and others who have too much time, money, and gullibility, I suppose, on their hands, seem to be members of the tribe that rely on a shaman who can hack their spirits He calls it spirit hacking, which sounds a bit like ghost hunting to me. And honestly, I would much rather hear about a princess and a shaman who are out ghost hunting. That would be a fun show. More fun than, I guess, the reality television show that they would rather do. Movie of the Week says, yes, that's what I meant. Right, yes. I think we're on the same page there. Yeah, I was just thinking back to, as I was doing this research, I saw a photograph of one of the shaman's classes or events that he was running. I believe this was being held in Los Angeles or somewhere in California. And the photograph showed, I think it was a video actually. And there was the shaman at the head of the class, and his class appeared to be all women. Largely, it looked like younger, thinner ladies of a sort of certain style of dress and appearance, and it certainly seemed like a form of a tribe of ladies who like to get their spirits hacked in expensive classes in Southern California, and I guess that's definitely a type, but as I've stated before, the Empress is not a California person, so California West Coast, not exactly my jam. But anyway, let's get back to the topic at hand. And what we're doing right now is a little update on Marius Borg Hoiby, this gentleman here. And I use the term gentleman a bit loosely. He's been accused of some very ungentlemanly behavior. If you have not caught up, please go back and take a listen to our first stream, and that will get you up to date, well, not quite up to date almost to today with what's been going on with Marius. To make a longer story short, to give you the TLDR, he was arrested after an incident in an apartment with his most recent girlfriend, now his most recent ex-girlfriend, where they had an argument and he lost it, and the apartment was trashed. There were photos that were run in the tabloids of a bladed weapon. I have to be careful as we proceed with these topics. There are some sensitive issues. I should have warned if anyone's listening, if you are sensitive to certain subjects, beware. They will be mentioned, and I have to keep my language clean and work around YouTube's requirements, as well as just trying to make the discussion safe for general listeners, in case you have anyone in listening range that might not want to hear certain language or certain topics discussed in detail. I will be very careful in trying to talk about this in a careful way. So Marius fought with his girlfriend. This was admitted. He admitted that he had a problem. He did something wrong. He was under the influence of substances, both alcohol and what we like to refer here on French Dip Empire as marching powder. You probably know what I'm talking about. Have to be careful again because of YouTube. But he admitted he was under the influence of substances. He lost his temper, lost his mind, and trashed the apartment, injured his now ex-girlfriend. She was hospitalized with a concussion. And subsequent to that, it came out that he had at least 2 other ex-girlfriends who accused him of having similar issues with the fighting and the violence and the substances and whatnot. And excuse me. So where we left off with Marius, he had been arrested. This was back in August. And since then, he had done the I'm sorry, I have a problem. He has claimed that he has mental illness issues from childhood, as well as substance issues that he said he had in the past sought treatment for, and that he would continue, that he would go and he would seek treatment for this. Also, in the aftermath of the arrests and all of the tabloid coverage, it has been said that the police had warned him of the the company he was keeping, which this isn't simply a matter of he has, party friends and he's using substances and this is leading to trouble, but that he is also connected to people who are very heavily doodly into not just the party aspect of the substances, but the business aspect of the substances. And we're talking about internationally, far too much to talk about right now. I would definitely recommend go back and watch part 1, the earlier stream, which gives all the details about that. There is a lovely chart called the Marius Netwerk, the network, that shows the connections that he apparently has to much bigger, powerful, and dangerous individuals. So yes, in the wake of this, it came out that not only has he been partying in the royal palaces, things have been stolen and residence, not palace per se, residence, his parents' residence, things have been stolen. They've been getting into trouble, not just what he got caught for. And he was warned by the police that his mother, the Crown Princess, may have helped clean up his own apartment before he was arrested, that there has been contact of the ex, the one who was hospitalized, the victim on the other side of this incident in the apartment in August, that Marius had broken a restraining order to contact this woman, that his mother, the Crown Princess, had contacted at least one of these women. They tend not to name the most recent ex-girlfriend, the victim of the apartment attack, but it sounds as though that was the woman that both Marius and the Crown Princess had contacted. Now, is that witness intimidation or what? Who knows? Movie of the Week in the chat is saying destruction of evidence. Naughty. Yes, it could have been destruction of evidence, but if I had to guess, it was probably a mother cleaning up probably substances at the house, but we don't. Oh, I take it back. There was one article, and I don't even know if it's the one that's up on the screen at the moment, that mentioned that there was a SIM card in Marius's cell phone, and that Mette-Marit may have removed the SIM card. And I don't know if that's what would have proved that he was in contact with the ex, pardon me, that he was not supposed to be in contact with, or I would imagine that you could simply subpoena the phone records, and the phone company would have a record of that the removing a SIM card would not completely remove the evidence of, say, phone calls or what have you that were made. I'm not an expert in SIM cards and cell phones and that sort of technology, so if anyone out there can enlighten me, please let me know. But I would imagine that anything that would be on the SIM card would be recorded by your phone company. Could be wrong, but I'm guessing that would only delay things, not completely prevent, say, a destruction of evidence, as Movie of the Week in the chat has suggested, but I don't really know. But anyway, it doesn't look good, and it does look like, interfering with a criminal investigation, which it is, and that has not been good for the Crown Princely couple. It is not a good look. And speaking of good looks or not a good look, this article that is up on screen now, I brought up because this was a photograph that I mentioned in the last stream, and I could not find it with all of my tabs and all of the articles. I could not find it, and now I found it, and I wanted to show. I hope YouTube does not have a problem with this, because it does show him holding what is probably a real implement, not a fake one, but it could be a fake one, and I don't know, so let's just take a look. Oh wait, Movie of the Week in the chat says, if it's on a personal SIM, the phone company might not have it. Okay, well there you go. Perhaps the Crown Princess was destroying evidence. I just can't know. So if you are not just listening, but you are also watching, you can see on screen, this is the cover of an old issue of Bild magazine, or maybe that's not the cover. I think it's the cover, or maybe it's just from the inside. But it is a photograph that was run in the German tabloid Bild, And der Photoshock, you can see. This is Marius, the son of Crown Princess Mette-Marit, and he's displaying his chest and arm tattoos. He is displaying his watch, which looks lovely, his mug of I don't know what. He's holding a bottle of champagne. He is holding a black implement of throwing projectiles at a very high rate of speed. I'm not sure what terminology YouTube would allow me to use. Some people think that could be a toy. Some people think it is most definitely not a toy. The photograph isn't clear enough for me to tell, but what I can tell you is, especially if that is a real implement and not a toy, Marius is displaying absolute terrible trigger discipline. You should not ever do that unless you mean to use it for what it's designed for, and he's not intending to do that. He is merely posing for a photograph, a ridiculous photograph, and of course he should not have his finger where it is at all. Movie of the week in the chat says, well, first you say, those tats are ratchet AF. Okay. That looks like a squirt gun. Check the nozzle, and it doesn't have a slide. Okay, well, I was wondering about that too. The little, well, here, I will use my cursor. This little bit right here. Can I make it? No, I can't make the photograph larger. Sorry, I tried. Yes, I wondered, is that a squirt gun? Well, we should practice good trigger discipline, even with a toy. But anyway, can we also appreciate what I have not mentioned, as the Germans put it, Bargeldbundeln in der Hose, the cash that is tucked into the waistband of his jeans. I can't tell quite. I don't know if those are Norwegian krone or not. It looks like some purple lavender bills and some yellowish bills. I can't really see the denominations, but they must be high denominations because nobody poses with a bunch of ones. You don't pose with single dollar bills tucked into your waistband unless maybe you're a dancer. I don't know, but he is not a dancer. And so there you go. This is the sort of gangsta photo of Marius that is not exactly thrilling either the royal family or royal watchers. Not a good look for the young man, not so young, he's 27, who was arrested for substances and giving someone a concussion and whatnot. So let me quickly scan this article. I thought there was they're just saying, oh, he was just joking taking this photograph. He's not really a gangster. Of course he's not really a gangster. He's a silly rich boy, but unfortunately he is connected to some people who are legit gangsters. And so posing as a gangster when you are actually connected to real gangsters could be a problem. And 1 second, I was just looking quickly. Yes, the article is going on a bit about how perhaps Marius was, because there was a special situation when his mother married into the Norwegian Royal Family, that he was not a prince. He was not going to be made a prince, not going to be royal. But, he was a child growing up in this very high-profile situation that he did not ask to be born into. So they made it a sort of special case to leave Marius alone. He's not a part of the royal family officially. He's not going to be the king someday, so just kind of leave him alone. And they had, but that also meant that he was a bit covered up for more than, he would have if he were not royal, but probably the same amount if he were royal. And as you can see in this article, it mentions that Marius in 2017 was fined for marching powder use at a festival in Kristiansand in Norway. So, and it says, this was unknown to me, but maybe other media got tips about the case, or maybe not. Maybe it was the police who, quote, protected, unquote, him just this time. So if it was, you know, he got busted, and that's, who's mentioning that? The editor-in-chief of a magazine said, oh, well, the media knew, and they didn't report on it. And you could say, well, you know, he was a young man, he was out having a party, he's not hurting anyone, it's just maybe personal consumption. If he has a problem, that's between he and his family and his, you know, doctor or what have you. But in protecting Marius, did it help to make it worse? He didn't experience the consequences of his actions. And that's kind of what this article is talking about, that, again, you know, he had did he get a feeling of being untouchable because he was literally being protected by the police? And as I mentioned, the police sat him down. This was covered in the previous stream. They sat him down, and there are audio tapes, edited audio tapes, but audio tapes of members apparently of the police saying, Marius, you've got to calm down. You've got to calm down with the substances, with the partying, and with the people you are connected to. And he basically gives them the, yeah, I know, and I don't really do it that much, and it's not that bad, and blah, blah, blah. But it seems pretty clear that Marius was not just involved in use and partying, but that there was a business aspect, let's say like father, like son. And if you go back and you listen to the previous stream, you'll understand what that means. Now, this is an interesting little fact that came up in this article. And I only pulled up this article just to find that one photograph, but as I was skimming it, I kept reading, and it says right here, and I did not see this in any of the other articles, but of course it's logical, it would have made sense. Marius has a diplomatic passport, and he has since he was a child. And it says here that may have contributed to a feeling of being above the law. And what kind of interesting about this case, as I said, it's not simply that Marius has been using illegal substances. It's not simply that he's been acting like a, to use very toned down language, major jerk, and, you know, acting inappropriately with his girlfriends. Again, I am, you know, toning it down. Obviously, it's much more than that. But if he has a diplomatic passport, that means that he's not going to be checked for a lot of things. I mean, I would assume that this would be the case anyway. He's wealthy, he's famous, he's well-connected. I imagine he's traveling private. No one's really checking his bags at customs, that sort of thing. But if he has a diplomatic passport that is really like not a get-out-of-jail-free card, but diplomatic passport, diplomatic bags, that sort of thing. It's a very, very easy way to get things from point A to point B with no one checking. And if he's involved with, you know, criminal business operations, the fact that he can travel around the world on a diplomatic passport means he's basically untouchable. He could be quite untouchable in terms of, well, transporting anything he could carry. And I will leave it at that. Now, I'm not saying that that was necessarily his choice or his desire to pursue that lifestyle. It may be, especially considering the source, considering his father. Was he leveraged in any way? Did anyone pressure him in any way with, say, his personal peccadillos, and then leverage him into doing something more that he might not have wanted to? Many such cases, as we discussed the footballer that Marius is connected to. We discussed that in the last stream, so I don't want to belabor that point, but just some interesting stuff that came up as I was trying to find this shock photo of Marius, which actually isn't that shocking, but, there you go. So where have we gone just in the past week? What has happened with Marius? Well, where we left off, they had left the country. Marius, his stepfather, Crown Prince Haakon, and his mother, Crown Princess Mette-Marit, had left Norway and had traveled to London. All of them. Marius and Haakon apparently had left together. Haakon had canceled his engagements. He had engagements, like official royal business, on his calendar. He canceled everything at the last minute. It was bizarre. And then they're like, oh, okay. Haakon just canceled everything, said it was for a private, personal matter. And then the next thing anyone knew, he and Marius are traveling to London. And then Mette-Marit, who was supposedly taking a break because of her health, her pulmonary lung issue, pulmonary fibrosis, I think it is, trying to remember, that they say she has. She too had traveled to London with her husband and Marius. And the speculation was Marius going to rehab? And would he be getting help maybe that he needed? Well, what happened? They came back almost immediately from London. And as you can see, I have the tabloid, the Norwegian tabloid, Se a Hår. Probably not saying that correctly. I apologize. I am not a Norwegian speaker, but I'm trying my best to learn. And as you can see, it says, straight home from London. Many thought that Marius was finally going to start rehab when he and Crown Prince Haakon went to London on Thursday last week. And now they are back in in Norway. So last time I checked, rehab does not take a day or two. It's a much bigger process, especially when you're in deep and down bad like Marius here. So I won't read the entire article, but as it says, it was a short trip to England for Marius Borg Hoiby, 27. According to what Se a Hår learns, he is back in Oslo. It caused a stir last week when the usually hardworking and dutiful Crown Prince Haakon, 51, canceled an official mission. While he was, okay, blah, blah, there's a mistranslation there. I don't know what that means. Yes, King Harald, 87, had been traveling until Thursday and resumed his duties on Friday. So this would be last week, not last Friday, I guess. In the Royal Palace's program, it was stated that Crown Princess Mette-Marit, 51, was to hold a lunch for the state administrators at 2 p.m. on Thursday. Okay, so she actually was supposed to be working. And then, yes, the Crown Prince did not attend the lunch due to private reasons. And there's all three of them together, Crown Prince Mette-Marit, Marius, and Crown Prince Haakon. Although that's not from London or recently. In the chat, movie of the week says, man, he looks smug. It looks like he's giving his mother the side eye, which, maybe he would have reason to, but, I think, he's a bit of a smuggy guy, but I think he also suffers from a bit of he has smug resting face, kind of. I think it's a bit of his, the way his face is constructed, it just sort of gives him a little bit of like a look when he's just resting his face. I think it has to do with his nose and his mouth. But, I mean, I don't disagree with you, movie of the week. Okay, just more discussion about Haakon and the leaving and whatever. So, again, they go over the details of seeing the flights that they were on, Haakon and Marius and Mette-Marit and all of that. So, yes, as it says here, many assumed that Haakon and Marius went to London so that the 27-year-old accused of violence could start rehab. But apparently not. His defense attorney had said he's going to go to rehab. Well, fine. And perhaps he still is, but it's been since August, that the arrest came, as you know, and he said, this is, just to reiterate, I have struggled with substance abuse for a long time, something I have been in treatment for in the past. I will now resume this treatment and take it very seriously. And we found out how seriously he was taking it in the last stream when the tabloids revealed that there was at least one photograph of Marius in a store holding a 12-pack, I think it was, of beer and standing next to tabloid magazines with him on the cover, and he's flipping the bird at the camera with a smile on his face. It doesn't seem like he's taking sobriety and rehab and his criminal situation too seriously, but I don't know. Perhaps he's changed his mind since mid-August, but I doubt it. And why they went to London for like a weekend, it kind of looks bad because it looks like they were just on a Christmas shopping jaunt for the weekend, bopping down to London and then back up to Oslo. So what else has happened in the past week with Marius? Well, the pile-on continues. We've got the ex-girlfriends continue to come out of the woodwork. Well, not more of the ex-girlfriends. It's the same ex-girlfriends. And Juliana Snekastad, who was not the woman who was attacked in August. This was a previous girlfriend. And so now the police have to question Juliana because Marius claimed, as you can see in the headline if you're looking at the screen, he's claiming she mistreated him. Now, here's a picture of Marius with Juliana, who is sometimes blonde, but here she is brunette, and much happier times, although it's a bit ominous to see Maleficent, Mistress of Evil, and words over behind them again and again and again. So Marius... yes. So, okay, they recount whether the trip to London was for rehab purposes. It seems that obviously it was not. And in the meantime, while the Norwegian royals and Marius were in London, yes, it's more information was being released to the press. And yes, in the interrogations between the police and Marius, they're saying that he said, and here you go, it's a little hard to read in between these ads, but it says, in several formal interviews with the police, Marius Borg Hoiby has claimed that he himself has been subjected to abuse and violence. So I guess it's okay that he put a bladed weapon into a wall and apparently knocked a chandelier down off of a ceiling at a different woman's apartment, because this woman may or may not have engaged in some, crazy activity. I don't know. Here they have a lovely photograph of Crown Princess Mette-Marit and her cute little doggy. And there's Juliana back when she was still dating Marius back in 2020. Getting along, having a great time. So here the quote is, Borg Hoiby has explained himself about 3 turbulent relationships where he obviously takes his share of the responsibility for it being so. He has explained in the interrogations about abuse in close relationships from at least one of the offended ladies. And that was from an email that Marius's defense attorney sent to TV2, I guess that's Norwegian television. And a police attorney confirmed this allegation, but said that this was only about Juliana, not about any other of the ex-girlfriends. And Marius and Juliana dated for over 4 years until it ended in 2022. So I guess about 2018, 2017 to 2022. I was pretty sure they were that they had lived together. They had an apartment, and he sold the apartment. I think that's actually mentioned in one of the articles coming up. And honestly, is that really so surprising? Marius, oh, there's Juliana in blonde with the blonde hair. Is it so surprising that people who are engaged in substance use, abuse, might engage in other forms of, wacky behaviors? It's a thing that can happen. They say it's a heck of a substance, right? Marching powder is a heck of a substance. And when one person's using it, things can get a little wacky sometimes. If both people are using it, well, now you've just exponentially made the situation a little wacky, even wackier indeed. So could there have been some mutual, inappropriate, what's the term that I used last time? Inappropriate aggression? Is there appropriate aggression? I guess there could be. But you know what I'm saying. They could both be doing inappropriate things fueled by one or more substances. I can believe it, but you can also... All right, take a look at these two. Look at Marius. He's a big boy. He's got to be well over 6 feet. And these ladies, well, they're ladies, they're smaller. So I'm guessing that if he decided to get a little aggro and the lady decided to get a little aggro, he would definitely have the upper hand in that matchup. But I suppose there are also things that could even up a matchup if the smaller, lighter of the two grabbed an implement. I guess you could even up the discrepancy, but nonetheless, I don't think claiming that any of his exes might have gotten handsy with him as well is exactly going to get Marius out of his problems with the picture of a blade stuck into a wall and a report of a woman with a concussion in the hospital. Not a good look. So now on to one of his other exes. We go to Nora Haukeland, and she is this lady. Again, another tiny lady. Here is big Marius and his little influencer girlfriend. It seems that he has a tendency to date influencer ladies. And probably not a great choice if you want to keep things not dramatic. But so this article came out. New shock. Had a meeting with the Crown Prince couple. Nora Haukeland is said to have informed Crown Princess Mette-Marit and Crown Prince Haakon about Marius's substance use before she and he broke up. They had a briefer relationship between 2022 and 2023. Obviously, this came after he broke up with Juliana. And Nora is saying that I'm not going to read this entire article, but long story short, Nora says that Juliana apparently told Crown Princess Mette-Marit in a text that he had a problem with being inappropriately aggro. And Nora has come out and said, I did this as well. She says that she told both Haakon and Mette-Marit that I want to meet with you, that they sat down, and she said he needs professional help. So, I assume she is telling the truth. It seems reasonable, but this is not a good look for the Crown Princely couple, where they are being told by at least 2 subsequent girlfriends Marius has a problem. And remember, he's not a little boy at this point. He's in his 20s, this whole time. And they're saying, you need to do something about this. Let's get help. According to Nora, they said they would try. We all tried to get him into rehab, but you can't force a grown man. It is disrespectful of Marius not to take responsibility and do something to make things better. After all, it continuously only affects others. Well, it doesn't only affect others. That might be a mistranslation by my auto translator on the page here. Agreed. Well, it is true you can't force an addict to get help if they really don't want to. However, I would really imagine that the Crown Prince and Princess of Norway probably have some pretty big carrots and pretty big sticks with which to encourage a wayward member of the family to get help. It sounds like maybe they didn't really mind that he was doing these things. It seems like they more are concerned about the finding out about it, but I don't know them personally, so I can't say that for a fact. I can just say that's what it seems like. Movie of the Week in the chat says, it should be legal to charge them with marching powder possession for being dressed like that. Oh, well, Movie of the Week, we can't arrest people for being poorly dressed, because then anytime somebody needed to make a quick trip to the corner store, or had to quick pick up your kid from school when you're in the middle of doing something, I think a lot of people would end up being charged with at least misdemeanors, if not felony fashion crimes. But since we've lost Joan Rivers, R.I.P., I don't know that anybody is quite qualified to draft those fashion laws, Movie of the Week. So, I mean, I'd volunteer to do it, but I'm busy running my own empire here. So, if anyone would like to draft some fashion laws, reach out to me. Maybe we could make a deal. But in the meantime, I think I'll just get back to streaming. So Nora came out, and both she and Juliana said, look, we told the Crown Princely couple that this was a problem. However, Nora said her issue was just, I guess, the substances, not the aggro stuff. She praises the Crown Prince's family, describes them as warm and nice, but Marius has to take responsibility. Well, that's true. Of course, that's true. But you're going to have a hard time convincing, I think, a lot of people that the Crown Princely couple and, the milieu surrounding the Norwegian Royal Family, the people who keep them running, the people they call the gray men of the palace in the British Royal Family milieu. I think there's a lot more accountability. They've clearly been letting him just run, wild. Oh, well, that's terrible. Nora is claiming that she several times locked herself in the bedroom or the bathroom. Well, if there wasn't actual aggro, I guess maybe he was yelling or whatnot. Not actual, like, doing anything to her body, to her person, but, maybe just being generally too much to deal with in an aggressive way. I guess I can understand that. Yes. It seems like Nora's been doing a lot of talking. Oh, but Nora did it. Well, now it says she had accused him of being aggro and making threats, which, of course, he's denied. He denied that he's done anything to Nora or Juliana. I guess Marius has only come clean about the incident with the ex-girlfriend, Rebecca. That's the August apartment attack incident. So, okay, that's all for that article. And another Nora. Okay, so Nora's been making a lot of hay off of this. She came out again and said he cheated on her. Now, I think this is a bad story with a lot of bad things in it. This is a little moment of levity if you have a certain sense of humor, which I do. Okay, so she accuses Marius of adultery. In her newly launched podcast, Nora Haukeland answers questions about Marius Borg Hoiby and their relationship, because Lord knows that if I had an ex who had violence and substances, I would want privacy in that time. And the way to get privacy is to start a podcast. So she's doing a podcast and, making hay while the sun shines. Her podcast, Unproblematic, where she invites guests whom she described as some of the country's most problematic celebrities for a chat. Too bad she could not get her ex-boyfriend on the show. But yes, so it mentions that, yes, she's made these accusations. Here is Nora. And there's a quote in here. Sorry, I am trying to find it, which I found very choice, from Ms. Hawkland. And here, hold on. Yes, she's a little unsure of how much she dares to reveal simply because of the consequences of coming forward with her story. She also believes that in a possible court case, she knows that she will be accused of using the situation for attention. Now, a woman who is an influencer, I find it very hard to believe that she would use any situation for attention. Impossible, right? So hard to believe. And this is a quote from Ms. Hawkland, Nora. But to put it this way, I would so much rather be without all the S word, excrement, all my X and everything that has been, than what is happening now. I don't think it's any fun. I struggle to stay at home. I have received unalive threats, and the attention I get is not favorable or fun at all. I get an intense amount of pain and a lot of S-word, excrement. And now I'm sitting here and I'm anxious to talk about this, even though I'm the one who's been through something. Poor baby. I mean, honestly, if she hadn't dated Marius, I wouldn't even know who this woman is. But then again, I'm not Norwegian, so maybe the Norwegians would. So, Nora is an influencer, and she's just mortified by the attention she's been receiving for having dated a major, major jerk, right? Well, here's where we press X to doubt. Here we go over to a post on X, aka Twitter. Yes, the text is in, I guess, Norwegian. No, I don't want to install that. I thought I could translate it. Well, anyway, I can't entirely translate this off the top of my head, but you see the photograph if you can look at the screen. If you're not just listening, if you are listening, there's a photograph in this tweet. There's a blonde lady who is holding up a phone, taking a selfie. There is a brunette lady standing next to her, also being part of the selfie. If one looks closely at the left hand of the brunette woman, you can see there's a little teeny tiny packet, little maybe white powder in a little plastic baggie in her hand. If you can see the names in the tweet, you can see Crown Princess Mette-Marit. You can see Nora Hawkland, and you can see something that says in quotes, Sophie Elisa Sock. If I remember correctly from reading about Marius, sock means case, right? So what's going on here? Let's explain. Okay, so before I translate the Norwegian on this page, here you go. These are the two ladies that you see in that photograph. Nora, who is now on the left, her hair is slightly lighter, and Sophie Elisa, her surname Isaksen, is on the right in this photograph with the blonde hair. If we go back to the photograph on X, you see the blonde on the left, the brunette, darker hair on the right. Nora on the right, Sophie Elisa on the left, and the little baggie in Nora's hand. Now, what happened at the time, I guess this happened last year, 2023. This woman, Sophie Elisa, is also some kind of influencer nonsense person, one of those famous for running around and having her photograph taken, much like Nora here. The photograph was outed as, hey, look, these two ladies are taking a selfie and they have a little bag of substance, which, probably of the marching powder variety. It became a little bit of a scandal because they were willing, from my understanding of the situation, the press was willing to name Sophie Elisa Isaksen as the woman in the photograph, but they were the photograph had been run in the press, not on X here, with Nora's face pixelated out, so you couldn't see her, and they wouldn't name her. And the idea was that they were willing to out Sophie Elise, but not Nora, because Nora was dating Marius, who of course is the Crown Princess's son, and that this was a special protection for Nora that perhaps she should not have received. I believe the argument from Nora was she's a private person, and that just because she's dating Marius, that would not be like enough to, like, this is her private life and it should not be outed. I mean, that makes no sense. She is a public person, and it does seem as though she only got that measure of privacy from the media because she was in a relationship with Marius. But of course it came out, as you can see. This is not a secret. And now that the Marius thing has come out, it is not obviously being kept a secret. And the idea of Nora not using this situation for publicity, how it's just so torturous for her to be in the press. I share with you this article. Sophie Elise Isaksen and Nora Haukeland have had several love triangles together. Now, in English, usually a love triangle means there's either one man, two women, one woman, two men, whatever your situation may be. I guess it could be any combination. It could be three men, three women, whatever. Usually a love triangle, in that sense, love triangle, quote unquote, means there are people who are in love, and the love is, you know, someone is loving this person, but that person loves somebody else, and we're not talking about a love triangle. We're talking about what the French call a ménage à trois. We're not talking about a triangle, but apparently that's how it's said in Norwegian. So let's say triangle. The girls like to do triangles. Well, there's two of them. I imagine the third part of the triangle would be a man. So, as we keep reading, after a couple of glasses of adult soda, which is another euphemism I'm going to have to adopt, intimate truths emerge in Girls of Oslo, which sounds like a spicy movie series, but apparently it's a reality show. A reality television show. And this article is from 4th November 2024. So this is recent, this is not old, this is in the middle of all this Marius stuff going on. Nora Haukeland, you know, his alleged victim of some things, not the August attack, went on television with, I guess, her best friend, Sophie Elise Isaksen. I believe that's what I've read in another article about these two, that they are best friends. They went with two other of these girls of Oslo. They're a little old to be girls, but okay. On a last girls' trip before one of them goes and gets married. And so they're sitting there eating lunch. Haukeland tells others that she has slept with a girl. The topic of conversation moves towards the triangle. And that's when the other two ladies are served the shocking news. Quote, "We've had I'll just say triangle together. We have had triangles with 3 different men. But we have had more triangles than that," says Isaksen about, well, it says himself, but it's actually herself, and Haukeland. The duo share several intimate details, and it emerges, among other things, that during the act, I'm not going to read the rest of this sentence because I don't want to get in trouble with YouTube. But basically, there are no boundaries when these two ladies decide to engage in triangles. Yes. Does this sound like Nora really loathes publicity of any sort? Do you really think that Nora is crying into her pillow every night because she's been offered a podcast on the back of her ex apparently attacking another woman. I have a feeling she's not exactly broken up over this development. Movie of the week in the chat says, triangles just sound silly. Well, I mean, if you want to come up with a better term, I invite you to do that. I think it's funny. So I think if I ever have to use this term in the future for another stream, I think I'm going to I have to write this down. I need a list of all my YouTube euphemisms because I can't speak like an actual adult. I have to speak like a child. So I have to use all these silly terms. So triangles is definitely going in there, and adult soda I kind of like. But anyway, so I just wanted to mention the idea that Nora is, broken up over getting extra publicity. I mean, look, this lady will say anything, it seems, for publicity. So, whatever. Okay, so moving on with wrapping up our Marius update. The last things that have happened, unless something has happened since I started streaming today, is that they've questioned his money. Well, this is not quite the last thing. I have 2 more articles, but we're not reading the whole of the articles. This one says that Marius is no longer allowed in his parents' house. He lives, let me see if I can show. This is Skaugum, the Crown Princely residence. And Marius has been living in that's the main residence. He's been living in another house on the property, apparently rent-free, because as this article mentions, he does not have the money that he used to, and it does not appear that he could afford the, say, market rent, the market rate for paying the rent on the house on the Skaugum property that he's been living in. So how is he actually paying for it? I suppose the idea is that his mother and stepfather, the Crown Prince and Princess, are helping to foot the bill. I don't know why that would be a problem, as long as they're using their own money for it. Why wouldn't they? But this has become another topic of discussion, and as indeed he has now been barred from the main residence, which in the last stream we covered that the tabloids had outed that Marius had been having parties with his buddies, his substance using buddies at the Skaugum property, that there have been some incidents of things being stolen from the property, and then whoever stole it tried to fence it, tried to sell it. They managed to, I guess, retrieve those items before they were sold, but there's also, there was a video of someone on a Segway rolling around filming in the, this is the private living space of the Crown Prince and Princess. Even if you don't care that Marius is having parties there, or that people are stealing, silverware or what have you from the Crown Prince and Princess's apartment, one would think that the security issue alone, just the fact that anyone would be wandering around the Crown Prince and Princess's personal residence, that could be an issue in and of itself. And when you see criminal friends, Marius has been linked to people who are engaged in international trafficking. He's been linked to criminal motorcycle gang, or at least one of them. I was going to say gangs, at least one, Hell's Angels. It's just an interesting group of people that he is allowed to come into his family's home, and he's not allowed to do that anymore. So they're saying that he is barred from mommy and daddy's house, but he is still allowed on the estate and to stay in his own, or the house on that property that they've allowed him to stay in. And then the last thing that they have outed, or whatever, that they're, dragging Marius, rightly or wrongly, through the press for, is that he has a lot less money, I guess, than he used to. As you can see here, if you're looking at your screen, it says 2 million evaporated for Marius, and that's 2 million Norwegian kroner, not $2 million. And let me see, I did do a conversion, and if I could get my page up, I will let you know what that is. It's something like 11, it's like 11 to 1, I think, conversion. So, okay, when they say in this article, in 2022, he was listed with a fortune of 2,128,000 Norwegian kroner. That would be almost $192,000 US. And if you are in any other part of the world, I'm sorry, you will have to do that currency conversion on your own. It says estimated figures for 2023 show that the wealth has evaporated down to 51,000 kroner, which is about $4,600, not that much. In January 2023, Marius sold a home he owned together with his then girlfriend, Juliana Snekkestad. This was bought for $3.65 million in 2019. That would be almost $330,000, and in today's money, 2024 dollars, and sold for 4,770,000 kroner, which is, let's see, about $430,500. So they made about a $100,500 profit, but split, I guess, between the two of them. Not knowing Norwegian real estate, I have no idea whether that was actually a good deal, not a good deal. Did they make a profit? I mean, it was a slight profit, but when you consider, 4 or 5 years have passed, I don't know if that was actually, they actually made money or not, with inflation and whatnot. So this is the other, I don't know why we now have to fixate on the fact that Marius does not have a lot of money. They do mention his income. In 2020, it went from 120,000 kroner to 30,000 in 2021, and then 238,000 in 2022, back down to 127,000 in 2023. I mean, whatever. I mean, the numbers are kind of irrelevant if you're living rent-free. Who knows what he actually has to pay for in his life? Does he have to pay for clothing, or does he get them free because he's famous and well-connected? I mean, that's a thing. You know, he doesn't obviously have to pay for rent. What does he have to pay for? It's, you know, I couldn't tell you. So I couldn't tell you how much money he actually needs. I'm also wondering, where does he get his income? Because the jobs that he supposedly has had, he's bounced around. He hasn't held one job for very long, and he's done everything from supposedly being the editor-in-chief of a magazine that was based out of London that apparently doesn't exist any longer and was run by his father's friend, to being a motorcycle repairman. I mean, in Norway. I mean, that's kind of, you know, diverse, but whatever. So this is where we are at with Marius. He is still, you know, facing charges. Nothing has really come of that. He hasn't been sentenced to jail or anything based on the August attack. As far as we know, he has not entered any rehab whatsoever. All we know is that he took a trip to London over the weekend with mommy and daddy, and now mommy and daddy are back at work, and nothing much has changed other than some more gossip and some more being dragged through, you know, the tabloid press. So it remains to be seen what is going to happen to Marius. I don't know. You tell me. I expressed my opinion on the last stream that I think that he's probably being set up for a kind of a fall, being that he is the only not royal member of the royal family who is in a lot of trouble, and that kind of includes his aunt, step aunt, Princess Martha Louise, who we're going to begin to talk about in just a little bit. There's been a lot of negative press for the Norwegian royal family, and at the moment, I'm going to go back just quickly to this family tree. The succession is, King Harold V, who is elderly and infirm. He's been suffering from a lot of health problems lately. I don't know if he's going to say die in the saddle and stay on the throne until his natural end, if he will follow in the footsteps of other crowned heads of Europe, such as the last queen of Denmark, the last queen of the Netherlands, the last king of Belgium, and the last king of Spain, who all decided to abdicate / retire and allow their heir to take over the throne, which I think was largely for pragmatic avoiding scandal reasons, not just the, hey, I'm old and I'm tired and it's a kinder thing to do to give my middle-aged heir the reins, no pun intended, as opposed to doing what Queen Elizabeth II did, which is, last it out until the end and then leave an elderly heir behind to then take the throne. If you've been listening to French Dip Empire, you know where I stand. I think that they should ride it out, stay in the saddle until you meet your end, and if you're too infirm to do the job, simply allow your heir to become the regent. This is the way that it's always been done, and if you want to be royal, go be royal, and if you want to be normal, be normal. There are benefits and drawbacks to both, and I think you kind of got to pick. You're either on the bus or you're off the bus. Or to put it another way, you have to pick a side of the fence, because if you sit on the fence, you end up with a fence post in a very unpleasant place. So with that, yes, the scandals for King Harold, it does make me wonder if perhaps he would have stepped down sometime soonish if it were not for all of the scandals that are going on at the moment. We've got Crown Prince Haakon, who, for all we know, could be dragged into the Marius mess, because his wife certainly is implicated in some, shenanigans with the SIM card, the cleaning Marius' apartment, and contacting at least one of the exes. I think it was Rebecca, the girl from the August incident. And then we've got the shenanigans between Princess Martha Louise and her new husband, the self-proclaimed shaman. And I am not going to have enough time on this stream to cover every aspect of the princess and the shaman, but I do have a little bit of time to get the ball rolling. So I am going to take a little break, and then when I come back, I'm going to move on from Marius, and we are going to start with Princess Martha Louise and look at who she is and her background. I think we will probably only have time to go over up until the point that she met the shaman. So her youth, her first marriage, and maybe a little bit of her spiritualism. And then I think that will probably be it for today. And then I will try to finish up the relationship with the shaman and their wedding and what happened after the wedding, during the wedding, it was kind of during the wedding period, after the wedding. I can tell you that it has led to the princess and the shaman fleeing Norway because of scandalous headlines that have to do with the shaman, not Marius this time. It's not his fault. So I'm going to take a little bit of a break. This is French Dip Empire. If you have made it this far, please do me a favor and share, subscribe, make a comment. Anything you can do will help other people. If you feed the algorithm, it will be kind to the channel and it will help other people find this content. And I would be very appreciative. So I am going to take a short break, and I will be back with the story of the princess and the shaman in just a little bit. Hello, hello, hello. I am back. We are back. This is Friendship Empire, and I am the Empress, and we are continuing our discussion of the scandals in the Norwegian Royal Family. And here they are, the Norwegian Royal Family themselves. And now we are moving on to a discussion of this lady right here, Princess Martha Louise, the only daughter and the elder child of the king and the queen, the older sister of the crown prince. And why did she not become the crown princess? Well, because when she was born, Norway did not allow for a crown princess. Oops, wrong one. And sorry, I'm trying to pull up my Marta tabs. Here we go. And yes, they did not allow for women to succeed to the throne, and sort of remain that way until 1990, I believe. We will get the specifics on that as we plow into our articles about Martha Louise. So this says, I go over to this article, Tatler, everything you need to know about Princess Martha Louise, as the Norwegian is set to marry Durek Verrett this week. Well, that actually already happened. And I don't know why this says set to marry this week. Well, they did not marry in 2022. They married in 2024. But anyway, there they are, the lovely couple, Shaman Durek Verrett and Princess Martha Louise. And so this article does give a nice little background of the princess. Here we see a lovely photograph. Wow, this is, oh my gosh, so long ago. 1971. I really enjoyed the hairstyle of the then Crown Princess Sonia, now Queen Sonia, and the very young Crown Prince Harald, now King, celebrating the birth of their first child. That's little baby Princess Martha Louise. Excuse me. And so I will just read the Tatler article as it gives a nice background on the princess. Her royal birth, born on 22 September 1971 in Oslo, Princess Martha Louise was the first child of the then Crown Prince Harald and Crown Princess Sonia of Norway. She was named after her paternal grandmother, Crown Princess Martha, and her great-great-grandmother, Queen Louise, mother of King Haakon VII. And, pardon me, King Haakon VII was the grandfather of now King Harald, then Crown Prince. Despite being the firstborn child of the Crown Prince, she did not feature in the order of succession at the time of her birth because constitutional law at the time dictated that only males could inherit the Norwegian throne. Excuse me. And then, okay, they mentioned the establishment of a fund for children with disabilities, which is nice. And here we go. A change in the order of succession. Excuse me. And you can see here, this is a photograph from 1994 on Norway's National Day. That is Princess Martha Louise on the right, with her father and mother over to her left. Well, it would be her right in reality, our left in the photo. Excuse me. So, a change in the order of succession. Crown Prince Haakon Magnus, Martha Louise's younger brother, was born in 1973, later becoming Crown Prince on the death of his grandfather, King Olav V, in 1991. And King Olav was the father of King Harald, so when King Olav died, King Harald became the king. The Norwegian constitution was changed in 1990, switching to a system of full cognatic primogeniture, meaning the eldest child, regardless of their gender, takes precedence. The alteration was not retroactive, so Martha Louise did not take up her brother's place as future heir to the throne. Females born between 1971 and 1990, however, were granted succession rights after their brothers, meaning Martha Louise is today fourth in line to the throne, having shifted down the order following the birth of Haakon's children, Princess Ingrid Alexandra and Prince Sverre Magnus. Her early years. Martha Louise and her brother grew up at the Royal Skaugum estate near Oslo, which is the one we were just looking at before the break, which is where Crown Prince Haakon and his wife, Crown Princess Mette-Marit, live now, where her parents are said to have attached great importance to giving their children an upbringing that was as similar as possible to that of other Norwegian children. The royal siblings attended a municipal daycare center and a local primary school, with the young princess displaying an early aptitude for singing, music, and dancing. She was part of a choir, played the flute, and performed in a folk dancing group at the Norwegian Museum of Cultural History, as well as being a keen horsewoman. And here is another photograph from 1996 with Martha Louise here in the blue dress, and her parents, Harold and Sonia wearing the red dress here. And actually, when she was younger, that was what I remember Martha Louise doing, was that she was an equestrian, and that was sort of her, her thing, her occupation, not just being a princess, but being a horsewoman. Movie of the week in the chat says, lol, quote, normal, unquote, princely upbringing. It is a bit of a ridiculous thing whenever royals say that they want to, or anyone in an extraordinary position such as that tries to pretend that they can ever give anything approaching a normal upbringing to their children. It's impossible. Their children will never be normal. And while it's a lovely idea that you can take people that are going to be in such privileged, extraordinary positions and give them a little walkthrough of normal life for other people, common people, it's impossible. They could never truly understand what it's like to be a regular human being. It's just impossible. And it almost makes me wonder if it's even counterproductive, especially when you see what's become of this royal family, for one. One moment. Pardon me, I had to take a moment to cough. So, anyway, my point being that I do sometimes wonder if the royal families wonder if they have gone a little bit too far in the direction of let's be like the common folk. Because once you start mingling too much with the common folk, it's one thing to have the common touch, but when you have too much of a common touch, it does start to make one wonder, why do we have royalty at all? Why do we need these people if they are essentially no different than you or I, but they get to walk around with fancy titles and fancy outfits and get fancy privileges, such as if you're getting busted with powder at a music festival, the police will let you go and the press will not say a word until many years later when it becomes unavoidable to talk about it, I suppose. Anyway, so an entrepreneurial streak with her early enthusiasm for dancing and equestrian sports, the princess has always had an interest in physical well-being. A certified physiotherapist, she trained in Oslo and Maastricht in the Netherlands before channeling her passion for Norwegian folktales and performing, her passion for folktales and performing to set up her own entertainment business, encompassing a storytelling series on national TV and performing with respected Norwegian choirs. Excuse me. Her verve for entrepreneurialism has also seen her publish books, run classes, launch a YouTube channel, and collaborate on beauty and clothing lines. The Royal Court's website makes clear that since launching her independent professional activities in the cultural sphere and as a Rosen therapist, trained under the principles of German-American physiotherapist Marion Rosen in 2002, Martha Louise has been classified as self-employed and is therefore subject to Norwegian tax laws. And there is another photograph of Martha Louise with a lovely floral crown at a garden party in 2016. She loses, we're getting a bit ahead of the story, but I think this is a good little summary to continue with. She loses her Royal Highness styling and reduces her royal activities. In January 2002, in conjunction with the expansion of her business ambitions and the commencement of her taxpayer status, the princess also began to shift away from her constitutional royal role. After consulting his daughter, King Harold, who acceded to the throne in 1991, removed her Royal Highness styling and her official duties were reduced, enabling her to have more freedom in pursuing her independent ventures. And that's a lovely way of putting, we can't have you trying to make money off of your royalness, and so we are going to try to ramp it back. And with royal titles, we say titles, and I think, colloquially, when you say, oh, their royal title, you mean to include what is called style, and that's the highness part of it, the HRH, HH, HIH, HSH, in the case of the serene highnesses, such as the Monaco royals, who aren't really royal, they're princely, but, because they don't have the HRH, but, we just call them royals, generically. The style is that, his or her Royal Highness type thing. The title is the, prince or princess of blah, blah, blah. And so, yeah, she lost the style to try to distance, the royal house, the royal family from her business activities. But she's still using the title part of her title, not just the style. And then that becomes an issue too. And I'm not sure if I'm sure this will be mentioned in one of the future articles I will read, but it became an issue that she was even using the princess title to promote business activities. And it seems unavoidable. How can you refer to Martha Louise? She is a princess of Norway. If she loses her title, she's still the woman who used to be Princess Martha Louise of Norway. It kind of, what else can you be unless you get another title, or if she chooses to call herself, say, Mrs. Verrett, I guess, the surname of her new husband. But it's one of those kind of like once a princess, always a princess things. Even if you lose the title, lose the style, lose the work, lose the position, it's kind of, your identity. And now what do you do with it? And it's an odd situation that Princess Martha Louise has put herself into with her business activities and her, again, that 1 foot in, 1 foot out. You're either on the bus or off the bus. Do you want to be royal? Do you want to be a reality personality or a woman who talks to angels, which is part of her work? She's a spiritual worker, if you will. Which is it? And obviously she enjoys both and has trouble picking which one. It's both at the same time. It's kind of like a Sussex situation. Are you in? Are you out? Do you want to serve the state, the royal family, or do you want to serve yourself and your own interests? And when people do need to make their own money because they're not being supported by the state, then, I can understand. You need to make money, but you're only famous, you're only noteworthy for being part of the royal family. How are you not trading on your royal status? It's a question that all of these self-employed, if you will, royals have to kind of deal with. 1 second. Me for taking a tea break. So I just wanted to show a couple photos from Princess Martha Louise's life from her early youth. This is a young toddler Martha Louise hugging her baby brother Prince Haakon, then Prince, now Crown Prince. with their mother, excuse me, Queen Sonia, who at that point was Crown Princess. Cute little photo from 1973. And then here's another photo from, I want to say this has to be the early 80s, probably not late 70s. It could be late 70s, but it kind of vibes a little bit more early 80s. That's Harold up at the top. Every time I put my cursor over it, it puts the text over the photo. So that's Harold, that's Sonia, that's Håkon, and that's Martha Louise. And just enjoy the retro fashion and enjoy Queen Sonia's hairstyle, which is maybe not the most flattering, but it was certainly of, I guess, in vogue at the time. Week in the chat says, that's some 80s hair, and that's an 80s dress on Sonia. You can't really see the dress so much because she's sitting down, but yeah, I guess that's an 80s dress. It's a very 80s dress on Princess Martha Louise. Anyone who was a child, or I guess had a child at that time, or taught a child, would remember, school picture day or holiday photographs wearing a dress, kind of like that. And also that hair, pardon me, my throat has decided to quit on me right now, unfortunately. So I am trying my best to do my stream, and as you can see, I'm having a little resistance. I apologize for my my poor voice. I will try to soldier on. So a little bit more. This article has a little bit of the headline. It sounds a little shady. These men have been linked to Martha Louise. Princess Martha Louise receives a lot of attention for her relationship with Durek Verrett. That's this gentleman. This is her second husband, the shaman. But her previous connections have also been widely discussed in the media. Well, perhaps they were at the time in the Norwegian media, but most of her... Oh, thank you, Movie of the Week in the chat, saying my voice sounds fine. Well, it's giving me a bit of an issue, but if it sounds okay, that's what's most important. Thank you. Excuse me. So, perhaps back in the day in the Norwegian media, Martha Louise's other relationships were discussed widely, but it's not something that you tend to hear in the more recent articles that have been published since her relationship with her current husband. If anything, they mentioned her previous husband, of course, because that's the man she had 3 children with and was actually married to. But she had some previous boyfriends and men she was linked to. Did they date? Did they not date? I wasn't there with them, so I can't tell you how closely they were associated with, but I just we have searched the archives and found about 10 men who have been romantically linked with the princess to a greater or lesser extent. This kind of feels like they're trying to shade her with that she had quite the dating history, but I don't know if she actually dated all of these men or if she was merely linked to them. She clearly dated some of them. So let's take a look, because there's one man who is not on this list, and he's the most interesting one of all. He's the only one that I think I actually remembered from this list. So here we go. Per Gunnar Haugen, this blonde gentleman here with the windswept hair. The princess fell in love with Per Gunnar Haugen, 1 year older, in 1991. Haugen was on the national windsurfing team and participated in the Olympics in Barcelona in 1992. They broke up in 1994. Okay. Morten Holm. And that's this gentleman here with the brown hair. And you kind of can't see Princess Martha Louise because her face is obscured by what I imagine is her riding crop. Excuse me. Morten Holm, the relationship between the princess and Morten Holm is said to have only lasted a few months in 1994. He was her trainer at the riding center. The relationship was not officially confirmed. Well, maybe it was a rebound relationship. Okay, Leon Deroy. or that, let me see. If that's a Dutch name, I may be pronouncing that incorrectly. So I apologize if I am. But here is Leon in the young man on the right. That's Martha Louise over here on the left. And that young man with the spectacles is Crown Prince Haakon, looking so young and clean shaven. When Martha Louise studied in the Netherlands, she found the tone. That's a weird translation, I guess. With Leon de Rooij, or Rory. He shared her interest in horses, but the relationship did not last long. Thomas Odegaard, I think that's how you say that, or maybe not. It would be Odegaard if you're saying it phonetically in American English. In the spring of 1997, Martha Louise fell in love with the physiotherapist Thomas Odegaard. They had known each other for several years, but they broke up the following year. Mikkel Nicolai Downing, the princess, and Mikkel Nicolai Downing did not stay together for long, but had a brief relationship in 1999. Bruce Gooden, the press speculated whether Martha Louise should marry Belgian Bruce Gooden, with whom she was a lover, when Crown Prince Haakon became engaged to Mette-Marit. Time will tell, the princess told VG at the time. The relationship ended in 2000. And then, and here she is with Bruce. That's Bruce Gooden and Martha Louise. And then there she is with her first husband, Ari Ben, the writer. and that's obviously a wedding photograph, as you can see. Look at that. So before we get to Ari, there was one other man that Princess Martha Louise dated. I'm surprised he was not listed in that article, but he is mentioned in this article, which, as you see, the princess who talks to angels, because indeed Martha believes and has claimed that she can talk to angels. But not to talk about that. Yes. Before Martha Louise found great love with first the Danish-born writer Ari Ben and then the American shaman Durek Verrett, she had, among other things, a relationship with English show jumper Philip Morris. In 1992, when the 22-year-old Martha Louise was still riding at a high level, she met the 18-year-old Morris at an event in the Netherlands. A few months later, he was separated from his wife, Irene, but it was not an amicable divorce. She ended up suing both him and Martha Louise. Now, wait a minute. He was 18 and he was already married. I mean, not that that's impossible, obviously, but I did not realize, and I'm wondering, is that even a typo? I did not realize that he was that young. And that she was older than he was? That's a bit surprising and shocking. And I do wonder, I have to say, I had a very hard time trying to locate a good source for this information. I had remembered this as a rumor from many, many years ago. And I guess it wasn't a rumor. I guess it was actually fact. But I had heard it as a rumor a long time ago that she had broken up this marriage and was cited in the divorce as the cause of the divorce. And yes, it took a lot of poking around. And then I finally found this article on this Danish website that mentions this. So I had a very difficult time trying to fact check this fact. So I can't verify the man was 18 when she, as a 22-year-old, who, clearly had at least a couple relationships prior, went and home wrecked an 18-year-old man and his wife. I mean, it's bad if it's any age, but gee whiz. A teenage marriage? She broke up? First of all, I'm questioning, is that really accurate? He was 18 at the time? And also, the difference between a 22-year-old young woman and an 18-year-old, well, I'd call it a boy. Oh, gosh. I mean, I don't know. Yes, 18 and wifed. Movie of the week in the chat says, wait, 18 and wifed? Yes, 18-year-old man married. Look, it happens. I mean, people get married when they're young, and sometimes it works out. And not in this case, unfortunately, but I just also am thinking, being as a 22-year-old woman, thinking about 18-year-old, I can't call them men, I'm sorry. God bless 18-year-old gentlemen, but men? Sorry, boys? I mean, honestly, 22-year-old females or girls, not so much. I mean, 22-year-olds aren't exactly men and women in the greatest sense of that term, but it just sounds, I'm sorry, it sounds disgusting. As a woman, the idea of a 22-year-old going after an 18-year-old boy sounds gross. It sounds kind of creepy on the other end too, if it was a 22-year-old man going after an 18-year-old girl. Ugh, but whatever. The worst part is breaking up a marriage, isn't it? Irene Morris, who after the separation worked as a cashier in a supermarket in Chester, England, was very bitter about the breakup. Oh, can you imagine your teenage marriage and your horseback riding husband gets seduced by that hussy princess from Norway, and then you have to bag groceries. In Chester. That's gotta bite. That's gotta really bite you. But anyway, so Irene is quoted, I guess, in this. King Harold should have stopped Martha, asked her to stay away from my husband. Philip told me that both the king and the queen knew about the relationship, Irene Morris told the Norwegian newspaper Dagbladet in one of her many interviews on the matter. How have I not been able to find these? Trust me, I looked. I will have to try to look harder, and maybe I can find them, and maybe there's even more juicy gossip in them. I've got to look again. Movie of the week in the chat says, yeah, that's got to sting. Yeah. I bet Irene is laughing now, though. I bet she's laughing now. Okay. So Irene is further quoted as saying, she used her title and her power to twist Phil's head. It makes me so angry. I was no longer good enough for him. Oh, poor Irene. In a recording of a telephone conversation with his soon-to-be ex-wife, Philip Morris, yes, that's his real name, allegedly admitted that he and Princess Martha Louise had an intimate relationship. I can't say the word. You can read it here on the screen if you are looking. Spicy. They had a spicy, intimate relationship that broke the covenant of his marriage. However, he explained to VG that he had only, quote, thrown it at his wife's head to get peace. This is clearly a weird translation from the Danish. Thrown it at his wife's head to get peace. Well, that's actually kind of funny. You could read that many ways, but I guess that's meant to say that he only confessed to having the relationship, which I guess is he's saying he didn't really have an intimate relationship with the princess. He just said it to his wife to get her to shut up and stop accusing him of it. I can tell you that if someone accuses you of cheating on them, the best way to make them shut up is not to agree with them. I mean, if you did it and you want to admit it, okay, and deal with it, that's fine. But if you're being accused of cheating and you legitimately have not done it, don't agree that you have. That won't make life better. It really won't. That won't bring peace. It just will drag things out and make it worse. So Philip continues to speak. He says, we had show jumping together and thrived in each other's company. We have talked, danced, gone to nightclubs, eaten out. The things that good friends do. Gee, I wonder if they had triangles together. Apparently good friends do that. And by the way, on the topic of the triangles, when they say we've had triangles with, 3 men or whatever, Do you think one of them might have been Marius? Because that's what I was wondering. Anyway. Okay, back to Philip Morris. They've done all the things that good things do. No more than that. I have also kissed her on the mouth, but only as a close friend. I am very happy with Martha, but I have never been in love with her, said Philip Morris. Well, I mean, you could definitely have an affair with someone and not be in love with them. That's a thing that happens. I don't think you should be kissing your good friends, platonic friends on the mouth. Your good, that's not appropriate. They talked, they danced, they went to nightclubs. They went out to, I assume going out for meals is what they mean when they say, quote, eaten out, unquote. We'll leave the triangles out of this. And kissing on the mouth. I've done some of those things with my good friends. I don't think I've been kissing them on the mouth. And I think that my partner, if I had a wife or husband, which I don't, I suppose they would be unhappy with me kissing my close friends on the mouth. I would think. Irene Morris wanted the princess to testify in the trial, but here the Norwegian king put his foot down. He briefly informed the English authorities that his daughter should not be answerable to anyone in an English court. Well, now I think this goes back to the idea that if you tell the Norwegian royal family that there is a problem with one of their members, they are more concerned with quieting things up and shutting them down. Is it shutting them up, quieting them down? I think that makes more sense. Shutting them up, quieting them down, and making it go away. It seems that back then they were more concerned about making the press issue go away, making the scandal die down, than actually settling things. And I mean, I can understand that. I don't think anyone would want their child to be named as the, homewrecker in a divorce case. But did it happen? Was it true? Does the King of Norway have the right to interfere with the wheels of, I guess it's justice, in another country? Well, in this case, he did. In this case, Daddy was able to intervene and I guess prevent, although I can't imagine what legal authority. Can an English court not subpoena a Norwegian citizen? Does a mere princess have that level of diplomatic immunity? Possibly. I don't know. But in this case, I guess by default, she did, Martha Louise, which makes me think back to the issues with Marius. And again, the royals are being told there is a problem. And what is their big concern? Shut it up, quiet it down, then cover it up. Okay, so this is our Martha Louise. She seems like a nice lady with her equestrian activities, her physiotherapy and whatnot, but she's happily breaking up a marriage of an apparently 18-year-old Englishman. I don't know, the 18 sounds crazy, but whatever. Anyway, but notice that they didn't mention that in the list of 10 men that she had been linked to in this article from, when was it? 2019. Okay, 2019. I guess they just forgot. I guess they just conveniently forgot Philip Morris. So that's a little bit of our backstory on Martha before she married her first husband. And now we get into who was her first husband, what was their marriage, what were they doing, and what was that like? Because for quite some time, Martha Louise was simply a wife and a mother and a woman who spoke to angels. As a matter of fact, she at one point opened an angel school so that other people could learn to get in touch with their spirituality and learn to talk to the angels. I believe her angel school shut down a little while ago, but she took this very seriously. And she's written at least a book or two, I think, about being sensitive and special and all in that sense. And we'll mention a little bit more of that as we get toward her relationship with the shaman. But at the moment, you can see here, this is from the wedding of Princess Martha Louise and Ari Behn. There she is in her wedding dress, and he is in his tux. And Ari, he was a kind of an interesting guy. As I said, he was a writer, kind of a media personality. He did other kinds of things. If I remember, he was primarily known as an author, but he did like performance art, and he was a creative, artsy guy. And unfortunately, I think he definitely got pegged as a bit of a dilettante, an attention seeker. I think he was seen as, unfortunately, a little bit of a silly, nonsensy person, and was sort of the butt of jokes in that regard. Probably was a little too artsy fartsy, if you will, to really be a main member of a royal family, if that makes sense. I mean, he was not royal, he was married to a royal, but probably a little too unconventional for the type of scrutiny that one gets being attached to a royal family. And all I can say is that if Princess Martha Louise chose an unconventional partner for her first husband, she definitely decided to heighten that choice on her choice for her second husband. So I think, if anything, Norwegians and the royal family might wish that Martha had stayed married to Ari and dealt with his level of unconventionality. Now they're on a much higher level of unconventionality. And what comes with that is not too pleasant, unfortunately. But we'll get to that in a little bit. So this is Martha from her wedding day, and we'll just take a little look. This is back in the day. If you did not watch it, there they are going through the streets waving. There they are on the balcony waving. Very much in love. Very young, very love. They look like a lovely couple. I was surprised. I mean, I'm not Norwegian. I wasn't following their day-to-day activities. I was surprised when they split up, and I was sad for them. It's always sad to see people split up, especially when they have children. It's terrible for the children, but they look like a fun little couple. They're a cute couple, and there you can see lovely Queen Sonia, decked to the nines in her tiara and diamonds and gown, watching the couple kiss on the balcony. Very lovely, happy times, better times. And okay, more pictures, basically the same. Look at the look of love. I mean, they looked very happy together. They went on to have, so here are some more. They went on to have 3 children together, and this webpage has a bunch of, I just wanted to show a quick sort of photo montage of the life together, the marriage of Martha Louise and her first husband, Ari Behn. The pictures go back and forth a little bit in time, so this is not like a straight through, in time. Excuse me. So here you can see Martha Louise and Ari, and that's their first daughter, Maud. Here's Ari and Martha Louise on, it looks like a royal balcony, with their 3 daughters, Maud, Leia, and Emma. There's Ari and Martha with baby Maud. And there's Martha with Maud and Leia. There's all 3 daughters. You see we're kind of... And there they are again. You could see Ari, as he got older, he grew out his hair. He did the sort of silver fox thing, let his hair go gray, and he grew in a mustache, beard. Sometimes it was like a goatee type or a Van Dyke type thing. There they are with the girls. Another throwback from the christening of their 3rd daughter, Emma. There they are, very young, Martha Louise. I think the short hair was, the especially short hair was for the equestrian events. She seemed to have the much shorter hair when she was younger and then grew it out a little bit as she got older. Oh, that's an engagement photo, which is why they look so young. And notice, extremely clean shaven. There they are with the 2 girls. Martha Louise with this throwback, look at the braid hair design. I don't know that that was ever a good look. And as, lovely as she is, it even looks silly on her. But anyway, so that's a little photo, photo, your life in photos of the early marriage of Ari Ben and Princess Martha Louise. Excuse me. And skipping ahead a little time dash, if you want to know whatever happened to the three daughters, well, they're pretty well grown at this point. Again, here's another throwback photo. There's Ari and Martha and their daughters wearing Norwegian folk costumes, which look so cool. And you can see the real silver fox, the long hair. Ari had a very romantic, kind of dramatic look going on at that time. So where are Martha Louise's daughters now? Well, there's one of them. They've grown up, and I can get past all this intro. Okay, this is a picture of the eldest daughter, Maud, and her mother, Martha Louise. And you see Maud, she's got a little bit of a green hair. You often see photos of Maud and she has dyed hair. She experiments with hair colors. She seems to be... if I had to guess, I don't know these women personally, she seems to take after her father the most. She seems to have that sort of creative, independent, funky kind of artsy streak. And I wonder, being the eldest, she's the one who knew her father the longest, so perhaps they were the closest. You can see on the the family tree, Ari died in 2019. So at his funeral, Maud gave a speech, and she showed a portrait she had drawn for her father of him, that she was going to give to him as a Christmas present. Unfortunately, he left this mortal coil on, I believe it was actually on Christmas Day, which is horrendous, and his death was ruled an unaliving, adding more tragedy to the situation. And Maud, who obviously was like 16 when she gave the speech at her father's funeral and showed her drawing. It was very moving and very powerful, and it was a very mature act for a young woman, and she got a lot of acclaim in Norway for her very mature handling of such a difficult and emotionally painful situation. So that leads me to believe that perhaps, her father having this artistic streak, that maybe she kind of vibed more with him, like personality-wise. That's like maybe she takes more in his footsteps. And as you can see in this article, it says that Maud is following in her father's artistic footsteps. Born 29 April 2003, she is the eldest grandchild of King Harald and Queen Sonja, and currently 5th in line to the throne. Let's see, yes. In 1990, she won the hearts of the Norwegian public after she delivered a lauded speech at her father's funeral. She told the room how her father's hands had shaken while he spoke at her confirmation. Now, she said, they must forgive her if her own hands began to tremble. The order of service was decorated with a drawing the young artist had planned to give her father for Christmas, which instead now sat atop his coffin. Oof. Yeah, I don't even want to read that because it's upsetting. It's very sad. You can read it there if you want. But anyway, yes, as a result of the circumstances of her father's death, she has advocated for mental health, and as you can see, she's got a prize for pursuing these interests. And again, following in the footsteps of her father, she has published a book, and this is a little lighthearted, but she has appeared on, I forget what the name of it is, but it's The Masked Singer. It's basically the, I guess, Norwegian version of The Masked Singer. Oh yes, movie of the week, and the chat says, oh God, that's heartbreaking. It is heartbreaking, and that's why I'm not going to read any more of it, because it's very upsetting. And I saw her speech. I don't, obviously I don't speak Norwegian, but you can even tell, even with a translation, I mean, you don't need the words translated. You can feel the emotion, and even if you just look at the photographs of that day, the funeral itself, it's one of the most heartbreaking. I mean, when I think of royal funerals, Diana's funeral was, very emotionally, very emotional. Princess Grace of Monaco, which I barely remember. I mostly remember like the photographs and the grief on Prince Rainier's face and Princess Caroline's face. It was just, I mean, people often look upset at funerals. I know, shocking, right? But these were the cases where people, like, all their royal dignity, all of your, everything that you have within you that these people have practiced usually their whole lives to not show emotion and to not get, loose with that kind of stuff in public, that the grief was just overwhelming to the point that they could not hold they could not keep their emotions in reserve, and you could see it written all over their faces. When Ari died, he had been divorced from Martha Louise, but even her face, I mean, she looked absolutely devastated. If I didn't know, I would think that they were still married and in love. And obviously, the daughters were upset, but, very moving. You could see that this was a very, obviously funerals are emotional and people are usually sad. But when it's an elderly person and, you had time to prepare yourself, it was just everything. The circumstances were horrible, too soon, too sad. And we'll talk a little bit more about that, but I don't want to get too into it. I know that can be upsetting for people, and YouTube can have problems with that topic. And we don't want to focus too much on that. But anyway, just to make it clear. So Maud is the eldest daughter. And then there is Leia, and this is a picture of her. She's the tallest of the daughters. If you see the three of them together, the tallest one is Leia. And she is an influencer. She's 19 now. And she's into fashion and makeup, and she founded a cosmetics brand when she was 16, and that's what she does. So she's online, Instagram, influencer, fashion and makeup. That's her bag. And then the youngest daughter down here, and you can guess who she takes after, that's Emma. And Emma is an equestrian like her mother, or her mother used to be. I don't ever hear about Princess Martha Louise riding horses, and she doesn't appear to compete at all anymore. I don't see her even riding horses as a hobby. I imagine she does, but Emma, as you can see on her lovely horse with her I think that's a silver cup and her ribbon. Yes, Emma is a show jumper, and that's her thing. There you go. Won the bronze medal at the Norwegian National Championships in 2021. And I mean, so she's an equestrian, and she makes TikTok videos. Well, of course. What young person doesn't anymore? And a lot of older people too. So those are the three daughters. That's where they are now. Who they are now. Now. So, of course, as I mentioned, Princess Martha Louise and her first husband, Ari, divorced, and they separated they separated the year before they divorced, and this article is incorrectly dated. So I want to say they announced their split up in, 2016, and the divorce was 2017. I think that might be right. I may be off a little bit, but it doesn't matter that much. Again, after 14 years, they were married. They announced their separation, and of course they did divorce. And, it was basically one of those, well, it didn't work out, but we're going to stay friends. We're going to co-parent the children. And, it looked like everything was fine. I mean, again, they made a lovely couple and everything seemed fine. Yes, Ari would, from time to time do his artistic things or whatever. And people would say, oh, he's silly. He's a dilettante. He's a goof or whatever. It seems, I don't know how artists in Norway, treated him, but it seems as though the public generally just, as I said, treated him like a dilettante and a bit of a joke, not like a serious artist, which obviously he would have wanted to be. And if perhaps he had not married a princess, maybe he would have been considered a serious artist. I really don't know because I've not read his writing. I can't judge it and give you an opinion on whether it was good or not. It seemed as though he did have some talent though. But I honestly can't tell you whether the criticisms were, I assume they were at least somewhat justified, but probably not fully justified, because that's what happens, You get picked on. People like to troll. People like to make jokes. So now we're getting into the difficult subject, and I have to be careful with language and what I say. But I just want to explain. I think I should start with this article. So in 2019, at the end of 2019, Ari Ben did die. It was an unaliving. He was 47, as you can see by this headline. And actually, I think I should... Here, I will go back to this article. Sorry, there are a few things to discuss related to his death. One of them was what happened. And so, as you can see, it says, heartbreaking details have emerged of the tortured and lonely life of former Norwegian royal. Well, he was not actually royal. He was never given a title or a style. Ari Ben, who died by unaliving on Christmas Day. Absolutely terrible. I'm going to skip ahead just a little bit. Okay, so it says he once described his fear that he wouldn't live to see his 3 daughters grow up in an emotional interview conducted years before he took his own life. Oh, got it. Sorry. Please don't hurt me, YouTube. Please don't hurt me. Yes. He had also described himself as a, quote, clown, unquote, crippled by how he was perceived by the public following his divorce from Princess Martha Louise of Norway. And honestly, I feel the criticism started during the marriage, not after the divorce. There we go. Married until 2017, first detailed his mental health battle and struggle with substance drinking problem when he was a member of the Norwegian Royal Family in a candid interview with Massif magazine in 2009. And Ari is quoted as saying, "I just work harder until lunch, and I can take the day's first drink around 1:30 p.m. That's happening more often, unfortunately. It's a bad habit I've picked up." Yes, not good. He went on to explain that he was afraid his battle with drinking would impact his fatherhood, rendering him unable to see his daughters become adults. And scrolling down, sorry, a lot of ads on this article that I'm trying to get past. Oh, goodness. This is what happens when they won't let me use an ad blocker. Oh, and then it just ended. Well, I was pretty sure there was more. I think I'm just thinking of my other articles. So this gives you a little information, and as you can also see, I skipped over this little sentence. The writer, who was one of Kevin Spacey's SA accusers. And that's a little weird note about Ari Ben. He was one of the, he came out before, obviously, his death, and he said that Kevin Spacey, yes, actor Kevin Spacey, had manhandled him, quite literally. And a whole like conspiracy theory got spun off of this, or maybe it got spun into the pre-existing Kevin Spacey conspiracy theories. I really don't know what to say about these theories. I don't know how Kevin Spacey, an actor, became like this supposedly dark master of taking out his accusers, but that was what this was spun into. I am not trying to give any credence to this theory or theories. It's just weird, and I'm mentioning it because it's just this odd thing that happened to come up. Movie of the Week in the chat says, that is a weird fact. I didn't know that. It's very weird. And it's like, I feel like there are a lot of people, if you're an American maybe, that maybe you would have heard of Ari from this, not from his marriage to Marta. So just briefly, so this article, again, it's from late December 2019, just a couple days after Ari's passing. Author Ari Ben has died, marking the third passing in 2019 of a person who publicly accused actor Kevin Spacey of misconduct or assault in a specific way that I can't say because of YouTube, but you know what I'm talking about. Now, I'm not here to talk about the Kevin Spacey accusations, the other people, or anything. I just wanted to mention what Ari said about Kevin Spacey. And while he made an accusation, he basically blew it off as like, who cares? Like, it was weird, it was inappropriate, but I don't really care. Like, he wasn't super upset and he wasn't trying to sue. And there wasn't a criminal case related to Kevin Spacey regarding Ari Ben, just to make that clear. So here's the quote from Ari, and this was from late 2017, so 2 years before Ari's death. Quote, I have a little #MeToo story about Kevin Spacey. We were having a nice chat where we spoke about theater and drama and the little theater, the Wick, a theater in London. We had, and just as an aside, Ari and Martha Louise had lived for a time in London during their marriage. So back to the quote. We had a good conversation sitting beside each other. After 5 minutes, he said, hey, let's go out and have a cigarette. Then he grabbed me under the table right in the intimate things that most men have two of. I think you get what I'm trying to suggest. Pardon me. The kind of thing you might say, I have some ping pong, I have some soccer, I have some base or basket or foot balls, different types of sporting equipment use balls. So now you know what we're talking about. So Ari basically said, I had this chat with Kevin Spacey and he manhandled me. But Ari's thing was, he just was like, no thanks, and I guess, and just kind of blew it off and no big deal. So that was that. And, Ari did not seem to be making any other accusation of like, he didn't get, harmed, like he wasn't attacked, he wasn't R'd, the bad R, the crime. Movie of the week in the chat says, how rude. Well, yes. I mean, honestly, I don't think you should just go grabbing people in the, the places where bathing suits cover without very explicit understanding that that's welcome. I don't think you can just make that assumption after a 5-minute chat about theater, but who knows? Anyway, there you go. The Kevin Spacey accusation, Ari Ben, he seemed to think it was kind of a goof, like a who cares, but I don't know. Of course, I'm not trying to say anyone who made any accusation. I'm not trying to denigrate them. I wasn't there. I don't know. It's between them and Kevin Spacey and whatever court they may or may not want to take it into. Again, I'm just mentioning it because it's a weird little factoid that came out and got a lot of publicity. And that's important. Where is that? I hope it's in this article because it did mention, and this is why it got spun into the conspiracy theory. I'm sorry, I almost forgot. It's because, now, are you familiar with the Kevin Spacey Christmas time videos? I can't remember how often he did these. He did at least 2. I feel like there was a third one, like there were 2 in a row, and then there was maybe some time, and then did he do a third one? I can't really remember. But if you recall, Kevin Spacey made those weird videos. The first one, I think, was Call Me Frank. Was that the first one? Where he's doing like the Frank Underwood from House of Games, House of Cards, House of Cards, right? I always confuse House of Games, House of Cards. And he did like a video in character as Frank Underwood, and it was released at Christmas time. And then the next year he did like another one of them. Then didn't he do a third one, and it wasn't 3 years in a row, but he was in a park instead of it like inside in a house? Like the first 2, one was in a kitchen, one was by a fireplace, and then there was one that was like outside on a park bench. Anyway, there were these weird, cryptic, weird videos that he did, which everyone went, what the entire F is going on with Kevin Spacey? And what is this like weird? Is he sending a weird communication, like a veiled communication to someone or someone's in these videos? Well, that's what this like weird conspiracy theory kind of links Ari Bain into. Movie of the week in the chat says House of Cards. Yes, House of Cards was the TV show, and House of Games is the David Mamet movie that I love. But movie of the week also says, Let Me Be Frank. Yeah, he did a third one. Okay, movie of the week. It was 2 in a row, right? And then there was some time, a year or more, and then he did the third one. I thought that's it. And I'm kind of ashamed that this is true. I'm not ashamed to admit it. We're all human, but I'm kind of ashamed that I looked forward. Once he did the first one, I was looking forward to future Kevin Spacey creepy Christmas videos. And when he did the second one, I was so thrilled. And then he didn't do one, like, I think the third year, and I was actually disappointed. And then he came back and I got a little excited again. And I have to say, it's coming up on Christmas time again as I'm recording this. And I'm kind of hoping Kevin Spacey releases another creepy Christmas video. And I don't know why. It's not going to do anything for me other than give me, a moment of entertainment. But it's just weird. Movie of the week says, there was a gap. Those were great. They were so weird and creepy. They were. Although, Kevin, if you're coming back with another Christmas video, please go back to the high production value. Go into the set, the apartment, wherever you were, kitchen, fireplace. I don't know. You need another, maybe the dining room is the place for the third act. I'm not counting the park bench. I felt that was off. But anyway, those are my notes. Kevin, go to it. Get something going. I'm expecting a Christmas time video from Kevin Spacey. Thank you. Anyway, my little personal demand. I am the Empress. It's a command performance. Kevin, perform. Thank you. Okay, so back to Ari and Martha Louise. So just one little last thing about Ari and his life and at the end of his life and whatnot. One of his good friends, Per Heimly, I guess that is. Again, I'm not a native Norwegian speaker, so I'm doing my best with pronunciation. If you want to correct me, please do. Leave a message in the chat, leave a message on the video. I am always happy to learn and try to do better. But Ari's best friend wrote a book after Ari's death, and this was, I guess, it says 1.5 years after, so I guess that's 2021. I'm trying to find the date on this article. So it says, I have soaked in memories of Ari. Now comes the sadness and silence. Per Heimly calls himself and Ari Ben blood brothers for life. 1.5 years after Ari Ben died, Heimly now shares some of the messages between them from the last time. And here is a photo of the best friends looking very young. 1998. There they are taking a selfie together in the pink bathroom of Per's studio. We were young and hip and ready to conquer the world, says Per. This is a very 90s looking photo. And scrolling down, there are some texts between the two. And it reads, the first person speaking is Per. This is going to be fine, Ari. You are the best guy in the world and my beloved best friend. And the world's handsomest super dad. Ari writes back, thank you, dear brother. Per writes back, this is going to be so good, you know? Writing, painting, and loving life. Ari writes back, yes. Per writes, I strongly believe in a positive, brighter future. Also, a smart direction to go in the arts. And on to the text of the article. Per Heimly and Ari Bain had close contact in the last weeks of Ari's life. In the new book, Blood Brother, Per Heimly describes how he tried to bring Ari up from the darkness he sank deeper and deeper into. And yes, supposedly Ari was, he stated it himself that he was suffering from depression and, he had some other issues. And I guess he had some issues throughout his life. His first book it's variously translated as something along the lines of sad as heck. Heck could be translated as HE double hockey sticks. It could be translated as the F word, but you get the idea. Sad as all get out. And so if that's your first book, it's not shocking if you would say, oh, maybe I've suffered from some depression through my life. Yeah, okay. I tried to make him angry, tried to awaken something in him. Per Heimly and Ari Bain met in Oslo when they were both young artists with high ambitions. Heimly became a renowned photographer. Ari Bain made his debut as a writer with the book Trist som Fane. I apologize. I don't know how to pronounce that word, but again, it's like sad as heck. They were known for their extravagant behavior in city life, wanting to break boundaries and conquer the world, well, as many young people do, especially young artists. And speaking of being an artist and a photographer, here's a photo that Per took of Ari. This is obviously an older Ari because he has the gray hair, and you can see what I imagine is a snake tattoo here, and maybe a couple other tattoos. And he's got some colorful eye makeup on and no shirt. And he's laying in a bed. So that's interesting. And then we have another photo here, obviously later in their friendship, again, because you can see Ari has the gray hair and the facial hair. Blood brother, and here they are, Ari on the left and Per on the right. Into the Royal Family. In the book, Per Heimly tells how Ari changed his lifestyle after he became the lover of Princess Martha. Ari was a simple guy from Moss. This is how he liked to refer to himself. So of course coming into the royal family was a huge change. Per describes Ari as an artistic soul in free flow who had to enter a system. But Ari went to the Princess Twin School and was always good at adapting. I think when he's saying Princess Twin School, it basically means that, they taught him how to behave like a proper royal. It's, like Princess School, like Kate Middleton would have had to have been taught how to behave as a royal because she was not raised as a royal. So Ari or any married-in has to kind of learn the ropes. And I think that's what that means. Heimly believes that the years with Martha and the children in the royal family were probably the happiest in Ari's life. But he probably did not feel that he was taken seriously as an artist during these years. The breach. In retrospect, Per believes that Ari made a mistake when he did not come to terms with himself and the situation after the separation from Martha. Per thinks Ari might have hoped that everything would work out with the marriage. The fact that he was separated and divorced from the princess was one thing, but he probably felt that he lost so much more. He was probably not sufficiently equipped or prepared to stand on his own 2 feet, believes Per Heimly, and believes that not only his career as an artist, but also everyday life became difficult for him. He could call me and say, "My God, Per, do you know how much a cheese costs in the shop? 149 kroner for such a kilo of cheese. Last time I checked, it cost 20 kroner." Yeah, I guess that's the kind of shock that lots of it sounds like when a lady has been married to a man for like a long time and then they get divorced and then you're like, "Oh my goodness. Oh, look at the way it is out there in the world when you have to do like things and you're doing them for yourself." Not that a lady wouldn't necessarily know how much cheese costs in the shop. I don't mean it like that. I suppose it could be true for a man divorcing a woman too. If you've been in a relationship for a long time and then all of a sudden you're maybe having to do things for yourself that you didn't have to before, or just doing things at all that you might not have had to do before, you might be shocked at what's involved in that. I imagine going from royal, where everything is taken care of, to normal, where you have to do things on your own, even if you're okay doing things on your own, it would probably be a bit of an adjustment. And then everyone's staring at you going, "Oh, that's the guy. That's the guy." It's got to be weird. It's got to be difficult for anyone. Heimly says that Ari Behn had lived without financial worries, and suddenly there were many everyday tasks he had to start with. Well, that's what I said. Princess Martha's press contact, okay, they don't want to comment on the book, blah, blah, blah. That is sad. Look, this photograph is terribly sad. He looks terribly sad. This says it's the last photograph that Per took of Ari. And he looks horribly sad and much, much older than his actual age was at the time. Lately, it was sad for Per Heimly to see Ari. In the book, he writes, "Yes, yeah, that exactly. This is what I was just looking at. It was like seeing an 80-year-old. He has completely lost his spark. He just doesn't care anymore." What happened? It's so bad. It's so sad. I mean, I don't know. Maybe the guy was kind of a cornball, but I mean, he seemed okay. At the very least, he seemed to be a loving father to his children, and his daughters seemed to love him very much. Now, part of the reason I brought up this article is because it explains a little bit more about Ari, and a little bit more of the challenges that he may have faced both in the marriage and outside of the marriage, after the marriage, I mean, not outside of it, I mean, after the divorce. The other reason that I'm bringing this up is because I think it shows that Martha has the marriage to the shaman is not her first marriage to a man who did not exactly fit the typical mold of a married into the royal family, more, artistic, flamboyant, attention, grabbing, if not seeking, but honest, sure, artists, authors, yes, of course, you seek attention, if only for your art, if not for yourself. Sometimes having to seek attention for yourself is the best way to get attention for your work, and that can become a trap in and of itself when you prefer the attention for your work and not yourself, and the media and the public can choose to prefer yourself to your work, if that makes sense, that they find your public persona more interesting than your work, and that's what the media runs with, and then therefore that's what the public runs with. It happens, and it must be difficult for one's identity. And speaking of identity, the issue of Marta picking partners who are unconventional in other ways. Now, as I read this article, I can tell that Per and Ari, clearly they were close friends. This meant a lot to Per. He's calling them, blood brothers, my brother from another mother type of a thing. I also notice as I look at these photos that, it's, shall we say, not every man who would choose to pose in a pink bathroom in a white tank top with his best male bud. It's not every gentleman who will strip at least to the waist and put colorful eye makeup on and pose on a bed for his male friend. It's not every man who will compliment his best friend as the world's handsomest super dad. But, these are artists. Artists are unconventional. They like to break boundaries and do different things. Now, there have been things said that maybe Marta and Ari had an unconventional relationship. Perhaps they had an open relationship. Perhaps they had an understanding relationship. Perhaps Ari had more in common with Marta's second husband than we understood generally. And as we go forward and talk about the shaman, I think you will understand what I mean. Maybe you already understand what I mean. Maybe you understand where we're going with this concept, so I don't have to actually say it. We're all adults here. You get what I'm saying. Okay, well, anyway, Ari seemed like a nice enough guy, and it is a horrible tragedy that he's no longer with us and no longer with his children. I think we can all agree on that. I hope so. Now, I think that this might be a good movie of the week in the chat. That's one thing that has been said. Norwegians have chattered. I don't know. I did not know the man personally. I don't know Princess Martha Louise personally. I can't make a judgment about it. I can just say, well, things look the way they look. Maybe they are, maybe they're not. It's not really, I don't know. Let's see. This may be a good time to take a break, or this may be a good time to end the stream and pick up next time with the relationship between Martha Louise and her current husband, the shaman. Let me take a quick look at my tabs and let me see if there were... Oh, okay. You know what? This is a good article to mention now, I think. And yes, okay. I think we will finish with one last article, and then that would be that will get us to a good place to break it off for this stream, and then the next stream we should be completely about the princess and the shaman and their relationship, their marriage, and the scandals that have come up related to the shaman and his spirit hacking, his consultations of his clients, and whatnot. So I mentioned before that Martha Louise claims that she is clairvoyant and she can speak to angels. So this is an old BBC article from 2007. And so here we go. Norway princess talks to angels. Norway's Princess Martha Louise says she has psychic powers and can teach people to communicate with angels. The 35-year-old daughter of King Harald and Queen Sonja made the announcement on a website promoting her plans for a new alternative therapy center. She says she realized as a child that she could read people's inner feelings, while her experiences with horses had helped her make contact with angels. Princess Martha Louise is fourth in line to the Norwegian throne. The royal palace says it has no official link to the princess' planned alternative therapy center, the AFP news agency reports. The princess, who trained as a physical therapist, says on the website for her Astarte Education Center that she has always been interested in alternative forms of treatment. Students at her center, she says, will learn how to create miracles in their lives and harness the powers of their angels, which she describes as forces that surround us and who are a resource and help in all aspects of our lives. It was while I was taking care of the horses that I got in contact with the angels, she says. I have lately understood the value of this important gift, and I wish to share it with other people, maybe with you. A 3-year program at her center costs 24,000 Norwegian crowns, which at the time, per year, which at the time was 4,150 US dollars, 3,000 euros, or 2,000 British pounds. She's a princess. She lives in a palace. She can help you talk to angels, but you gotta pay. Okay, well, some might think of doing it as an act of charity, but I suppose if you can make a living off of it, why not, right? Sure. This is how you can start to see the issue of, are you a princess or are you a businesswoman, kind of starts coming into conflict. And this will become a bigger issue as the princess moves forward in her post-divorce life and really jumps on the bandwagon of doing press and reality television shows and selling photographs of her wedding to tabloid magazines and things like that. It's definitely caused a problem for the royal family. And yeah, it's not just the making money, it's the fact that her new husband, also seems to be trading a little bit on the title of his now wife, and also that there have been some accusations that maybe his spiritual workings are not so above board and might have crossed a line into criminality. And when you talk about, say, #MeToo, when you talk about somebody making untoward advances, including physical contact with people, this is what we are going to start to see. Coming in, the accusations made against the shaman, the California shaman, and this very high publicity relationship that Princess Martha Louise has entered into. It is a relationship that has Many people have drawn parallels between Martha Louise of Norway and Harry of the UK, the Sussexes, where you have a royal marrying, a person who is completely different in a way. Harry and Martha Louise being the royals, they marry commoners, they marry Californians, they marry people with connections to the entertainment industry. If you're not aware, Shaman Durek, as he is called, pardon me, is connected to Hollywood celebrities, most notably Gwyneth Paltrow. He has been Goop endorsed, and everything that you can kind of associate with that California celebrity, new age spirituality, Gwyneth Paltrow goopy. It's very, very much his vibe. Very Southern Californian, very Hollywood. And yeah, he's an interesting guy. I wish I had time to go into it now, but he is such an interesting, fascinating man with an interesting backstory and also a fascinating life with Martha Louise, and her journey has certainly taken a very curious turn since her divorce from her first husband Ari, and I have a lot of material on that, a lot of articles to cover, and I will pick that up on the next stream. If you've made it this far, I certainly hope you have enjoyed our stories today. This is French Dip Empire. I am the Empress, and I would love it if you could like, subscribe, and share. It helps other people to find the show. And I unfortunately do not have a set schedule yet. Life is very, very busy in the Empire at the moment, and I am trying to squeeze in the streams where I can. I am hoping in the next month or so to come up with a regular schedule, and when I do that, I will let everyone know. I'm going to try to start posting on the community page, the community tab on the YouTube page, so that if I have a stream coming up, hopefully I can plan it for the day before, or maybe even early the day of, so I can say, hey, I'm going to be jumping on, I'll be doing a stream tomorrow, or I'll be doing a stream later today. I really wish I could be more specific than that, and hopefully I will be able to in the future, but for the moment, I'm just going to put these up when I can, and hopefully you can just check them out. If you can't check in on the live stream, they'll be there for you. I know these streams are long, but you can come in, you can pause it, you can come back and catch up on it. And I'm also going to be making an effort in the very near future to put chapters on the stream so that you could go back and click on, if you want to just hear a specific topic within a stream, you can just listen to that segment. And I'm hoping in the next week or two, I'll be able to get that going, and maybe even bring out some shorter clips and put those on as videos, not as live streams. If there's a live tab on YouTube. There's also or it's either live or streams, I can't remember right now. And then there's a videos